a zero for today, I might say. So, and we're going to listen to the European Cycle Logistics Survey 2016. It's done by Gary Armstrong and Richard Armitage. Can I hear that? Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about the survey results. The survey, the first lot of data I downloaded on Tuesday, and there was a lot of data. So I haven't completely done all the analysis. So what I'm going to be doing now is giving you a quick snapshot of some of the findings, and I'm going to be moving through it at quite a rate of knots. And I'll talk about how we're going to distribute it a bit later. How long have I got?
Until 2:15.
Until 2:15. So I haven't got.
Let's say half an hour.
Okay, half an hour. So it's not a lot of time. So I'm going to go very quickly, and apologies for that. But as I said, I just want to give you a flavour of the sorts of stuff that was actually reported. So just a little bit of an introduction. So the survey was conducted by the European Cycle Logistics Federation, and I think we all agree that there's very little data known about the cyclo-logistics sector at present. You know, in terms of the scope and scale of the operations, the sort of services that are provided, the fleet, and what are the common problems that we find with the things that we're operating, financial information about turnover, profitability, etc. So what this survey is attempting to do is to start gathering this data. And in terms of distribution, everyone that completes the survey will get a comprehensive result of what was provided, and everyone will also be producing another document which will provide a summary. So if anyone wants that data, I'll talk about how you get that towards the end. And perhaps we can start this as a regular survey every couple of years or whatever. But as I said, I just wanted to highlight the analysis is still work in progress. In terms of participation, I sent the survey to over 400 contacts I've got, of which 95 participants clicked through to actually start the survey. And from those 95, there were 75 valid responses, i.e. some people just clicked to say, oh, they'd like to receive the data, but there was good data from at least 75 organisations. And since Tuesday, there has in fact been a further 8 organisations that have provided data. So I'm going to talk about leaving the survey open a bit later. I won't talk about the people that didn't respond or not the valid. So at this rate, we've had a 19% participation rate. I know quite a few of the cyclo-logistics operators across Europe. However, I think there's more than likely to be at least 75 to 100 more that I don't know about. And so it would be great to get those involved in the survey as well. So I'm going to dive straight in. And so what we found is that in terms of cyclo-logistics operators, these are where I received responses from. A quick summary. And from that, there are 93 cities and towns across Europe that have got some degree of cyclo-logistics operations happening. I know you won't be able to read that, but again, in a copy of this presentation, you'll be able to take a closer look. One of the questions we asked is, what year did the company first start operating? Now this is a logistics operations, and interestingly, in 1874, there was a company in the Netherlands, and described themselves as the 5th generation, and they actually started with a horse and cart. And they've recently started to move into cyclo-logistics. So this is saying when these companies started. The next slide I've got. What year did the company start providing cyclo-logistics solutions? And what we see is from 2009 onwards, that's where there's been a big upsurge in startups, psychologistics operators. And these numbers indicate how many have been starting year on year. The ones down the front here are the first adopters, tend to be mainly messengers that have started to then move into psychologistics. But that's no problem either. What is the legal status of your company? Most of them are private limited companies or sole traders or partnerships, and that tends to be the sort of distribution of 75 responses. As I said, I'm not going to provide a lot of analysis here. I'm quickly going to download lots of data to you. What services do you currently provide? Interestingly, number 4 is the most popular. 71% or 72% are providing same-day ad hoc type services. And then things like last mile stuff coming in at just under 50%. So a whole range of different services that are actually being provided across the board. Types of deliveries being undertaken. Business to business is by far the largest, followed closely by business to customer, C2C, quite smaller, and then others. I've had 2 C2Bs. 2 C2Bs. Yeah, 2 consumers to businesses, and that's what makes up those. Types of deliveries collections, by far is local deliveries to businesses. These are collections that are done in the same town and delivered in the same town. Followed by home deliveries, again, that are initiated within the city, and then the international ones and national ones are to do with logistics companies, last mile type operations. In terms of locker systems, just quite a small number at this stage. So if you can't deliver, how many take them to actually a locker-based system? Again, not a big take-up at this stage. But what is starting to grow is things like micro-consolidation units. This is where you have a second unit. For instance, as I said, I'm involved with outspoken delivery in Cambridge. We operate from a depot in the centre. We've got a container which is based in the north of the city, which TNT drop off loads to that first thing in the morning, which we then later go to deliver. So these things are starting to increase. So, do you currently work with traditional logistics companies who are operating motor vehicles? And 52% said yes, they're starting to. And the table on the right-hand side, there's 15 companies which currently work with 1 logistics company, 8 which work with 2, down to 1 company, which I think might be Bubble Post, working with up to 10 logistics companies. One of the questions I ask is, if you do work with a traditional logistics company, what typically are the issues and challenges involved? And there's a whole host of different issues there. Hold on, let me just put my glasses on so that I can have a closer look. And one of the biggest ones, which come up most often, was low prices, inconsistent pricing, whether the price was by drop, by consignment, by parcel. Another big issue is fluctuating volumes from a day-to-day basis. I know that from Cambridge. One day we might have 400 parcels, the next day there might only be 80. So consistency of volumes is a big issue. Late arrival and irregular trunking, not necessarily the logistics company's fault, it's a congestion problem. For instance, TNT are based over 60 kilometres away from Cambridge, and they frequently get stuck on a major trunk road trying to get to Cambridge. Size of parcels. just the number of times we've spoken to logistics companies to say, look, ideally our packages need to be this sort of size, and we still get packages that sort of size. And trying to put those in a cargo bike or a cargo truck can be a real challenge. Frontline with customers is an interesting one, and it's combined with service levels, blame for mistakes. It's not unusual that we might get some pre-9s arrive at our depot of 5 to 9. And we've got to be the guys that actually deliver these parcels to the ultimate customer who, you know, we obviously can't get it there. We might be delivering it at 10:30. And even though we're a subcontractor, we get the full flack of, you know, I paid for this service or whatever. So that's a real challenge. And so it goes on, you know, a whole host of other issues. Size of cycle-based fleets, this is quite a difficult one to understand. So by different types of bikes, standard bikes, trailers, cargo bikes, and so on, you know, how many different operators are doing anything. So what I've done with this spreadsheet, this graph, is to try and simplify it a little bit. So in terms of standard bikes and trailers, standard bikes up to 22 logistics operators have got 1 to 2 standard bikes, 8 companies have got 3 to 5, 10 have got 6 to 10, and so on and so forth. So I've got figures for standard bikes and trailers. Then on cargo bikes, again, 19 companies indicated they've got between 1 or 2 non-electric cargo bikes, and up to 22 companies said they've got between 1 and 2 electric cargo bikes, and so on and so forth. And then the same for trikes and electric trikes. Again, you know, there's not lots of companies, but only with very small fleets, apart from 1 or 2 notable exceptions. And then obviously in the four-wheeled arena, Johan, a few are starting to come on stream. There may well be more than that, which I don't know about, in which case they need to complete the survey.
You didn't ask about six-wheelers?
No, I had to stop somewhere. So from the responses, what it's telling us that there are currently, from the responses I got, of between 280 and 581 cargo trikes being used, and between 232 and 453. And I've also got this data for 2014 as well, because I've actually asked for that data as well. I then asked a question about how many staff are currently involved in the cycle logistics operation. Again, quite a complicated graph, but in summary, you know, from people responding, it's between 600 and just over 1,000 people are actually involved across the 63 organisations that actually responded to this question. This is a typical staffing profile. So, as you'd expect, most of it is taken up by riders. Some of the bigger companies that have got more management and admin operations have skewered this, the results of this one, I think. You know, many of the 1, 2, 3 man, 4-man operations are doing everything. What is the hourly pay rate you pay your staff by employment type? So 37 people responded to this, so formats, of which 21% yes, lots of no's there. So again, something that we need to do when we're talking to the logistics companies. But it's quite an issue trying to get the data from the organisations and what you're going to then be doing with it. Anticipated turnover for the current financial year. 53 people responded to this, which was good, although eight of those preferred not to say. But again, quite a spread across there, different companies. And then likewise, anticipated profit, break even or loss. With, you know, over 25 of the companies indicating that they are actually making a profit. 11 break even, but worryingly 6 are making a loss. So again, some interesting results there. Is the business being subsidised in any way? It's only 13%. There's only a few companies where that actually applies. One of the questions I asked was list the 5 challenge problems that hinder you from developing your business. And I got lots and lots of responses to this. The most popular one would seem to be lack of political government support. What that actually means, I think that means, in terms of encouragement more than actual cash in hand. And the second most important problem is, finding the time to both handle the operations and also do promotion, marketing, development of the business. And then so it goes on right the way down, and there's even a second page of items here. And again, some of these might be able to combine, but this was my first cut of actually trying to see what were the most common problems. It's the second lot of pages. So that was part A of the survey. And thank you for everyone that actually took part. I then asked the question, well, would you be willing to now do a second part of the survey, which was going to be even longer? And 46 people said they would at this stage. I asked a question about what days you operate, obviously Monday to Friday. I don't know what happens to the other 4.9% of Monday to Friday. Perhaps they just work Mondays and Fridays or something. So, and I didn't realise there's quite a few which provide sort of 7-day on-demand type services. Again, I haven't looked in detail at actually who particularly doing that and what that actually means. Start times, we're working long hours. A number of companies starting before 5 a.m. in the morning and finishing after 10 p.m. each day. So again, like us in Cambridge, we have to meet our TNT lorry up at our container every morning at 6:30 to let them in the container. So we're starting to extend our working day. In terms of, on average, how many packages do you deliver per day currently? And I also ask it for 12 months. Again, there's lots of people, doing 1 to 49, which is quite worrying because that's not a huge amount of packages to be delivering on a daily basis. But it does start to ramp up quite quickly. And then a subsidiary question on average, how many different addresses do you visit? Similar sorts of numbers as you would expect. Number of failed deliveries. Quite a few don't have failed deliveries. The worst case is up to 6 to 10% of deliveries can actually fail. That could be for people not being at home, misaddressed items, or whatever. Average kilometres travelled today by bike type. So again, quite a spread of data here. I haven't had really much time to look at what the data is telling me, but we've got the data there to actually start analysing. Average kilometres travelled on collection deliveries per day by rider, by bike type. It's worrying for these riders that are doing over 100 kilometres a day right at the end there. And some of them on a cargo bike, and non-electric as well. So that's quite a challenge. Oh, this is an interesting one. Average number of deliveries per hour by rider by bike. So the first column is there's quite a few only delivering 1 parcel an hour on average. Making a living out of that could be a real problem. But that's the spread of the 36 responses across there by different cargo bikes. Rank your marketing promotion effort in terms of order of effectiveness. Word of mouth come out as the top, followed by network, I didn't put it in order, networking second, especially SMD, third social media and so on. Surprisingly, paid for advertising fourth. That was a bit of a surprise because I don't, we don't do any paid for advertising. We do lots of editorials and non-paid for advertising, but we don't pay to have any adverts anywhere. And then I run out of analysis time. It's taken me a long time to get to this, but there's still a whole host of other questions that I haven't, I've got the data for, but I haven't actually been able to report. We asked people about what different standard bikes, cargo trikes, quads that they used, what the average maintenance cost is, and what are the positive and negative attributes. So that will follow, in a while. I then ask a load of questions about if you do work for traditional logistics companies, how much do they give you for doing a delivery? And I've got data on that, which I've still got to analyse. And then solutions, IT solutions used, actually names which ones are being used, whether they're bespoke or whether they're packaged or whether they're web-based. Again, I've still got to do the analysis of that. So, thank you for listening. But one thing I just want to do, can you hand up if you're a psychologistics operator, please? Hand up. Hand up. Can you put your hand down if you didn't complete the survey? If you didn't complete the survey. I know some of you did. I know Sam completed the survey.
Hands down, yes.
Hands down if you didn't complete the survey.
So hands up when you completed it.
Hands down if you completed the survey. Sorry. Don't even